Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric and Chad here with Iraq Veteran 8888. Today we've got another gun gripe episode for you. This one's going to be kind of short and sweet. We're going to try to, stick straight to the point here. We want to talk about some of the stuff that's going on and make sure we're still abreast of the stabilizing braces comment period, the redefinition of the receivers, that type of thing. And we want to talk about David Chipman real quick, kind of where we're at on that situation. Before we get too far in the weeds, I'd like to take a moment to thank our friends at USCCA. United States Concealed Carry Association. You guys have probably heard of them or heard that term thrown around a little bit. They are a great group of people. They provide self-defense legal protection. So if you're involved in a legal shooting, they definitely go out of their way to provide the legal resources to make sure that you're taken care of and that you can come out, hopefully on top. They do have lots of firearms education, different training resources, tons of videos, guides, books, and articles. So don't think of it like a gun insurance type of thing. The best way to think about it is along the lines of a total training regimen and a advocacy regimen that helps make sure that you're not put in a situation where you're going to be involved in a bad shooting or you're going to make a bad decision. So they help, give you the resources to make sure that you understand the laws in your area, what you're supposed to do, what you're not supposed to do, what's a good shoot, what's a bad shoot. So really, really great opportunity for that. It's more than a firearms insurance. It provides you with a good amount of knowledge across a broad spectrum of different things to make sure that you are a well-informed and trained gun owner as well. So that if you are involved in a shooting, that it is something that you're going to come out on top legally and make sure that you're not going to get in a bunch of trouble, okay? They do have 3 tiers. They have a gold, platinum, and elite. And each of those different tiers provides some different coverage amounts in terms of liability coverage, personal injury coverage, and stuff like that. So check it out. Use the code IV8888. Check out the link below. Go over to USCCA and tell them that we sent you. So we're going to dive into this. First, let's just talk about the stabilizing braces. Right now, there's 107,000 comments. Not bad. Off to a good start. There's still a long period of time that we've got to fill up here. There's 71 more days that we can make comments here on this. So you want to read some comments?
You want to roll the dice and just go through these comments?
Yeah, so we're going to read a few comments off the Federal Register. There's 107,000 of them. We did kind of glass through a few of them, and they're good.
We're going to read them all right now. So
all 107,000.
Get some popcorn and maybe get you a 5-gallon bucket or something like that, because you will not be able to leave your desk.
All right. So admittedly, I have not published my comment yet, but to my credit, or at least to my defense, I should say, not my credit, I do want to make sure I spell everything correctly, and I'm going to get a couple of people to read it over and make sure my grammar is correct and all that good stuff. And I am going to publicly publish my comment as well. So I'm still working on it. It's not going to be too far off of the comment that I submitted in this last December. It'll be pretty close with a few changes anyway, but we're going to read some of your comments. Now, some of these are pretty long, and they're very articulate, and they're well written, and we're not going to give any names up because we don't want to dox anybody, but let's just go through and read a few comments.
Okay, well, this one's from Renee. It says, ATF must immediately withdraw its proposed rule entitled Factoring Criteria for Firearms with Attached Stabilizing Braces. When President Biden asked whether he was coming for our guns, he said, bingo! When Biden won the presidency, a majority of anti-gunners wishing to take our guns did not win the majority of Congress. Therefore, Biden attempted to use the ATF to circumvent Congress and arbitrarily ban millions of pistol brace firearms. This constitutes a gross abuse of power and cannot be allowed to stand. It goes on to talk about the estimation of the pistol braces and such, and there could be as many as 40 million pistol braces and pistol brace firearms in common use. That's the key word. Common use.
Those are stipulation, or those are some facts that were presented by the ATF in the initial, comment that they.
The initial document.
Yes, the initial document.
See, there are so many braces in circulation because ATF has been issuing interpretive guidance approval letters for such firearms accessories for nearly a decade. ATF cannot reverse its interpretive guidance banning millions of commonly owned and legally acquired firearms while simultaneously criminalizing millions of Americans overnight on the whims of a politician following through on a campaign promise without the consent or cooperation of the Congress. Guys, this is stuff we've talked about in the past. I mean, it's a bureaucratic agency, trying to interpret and change the way that laws are used, okay? Anyways, the proposed rule change is unacceptable, a violation of the statutes at hand, and a violation of my Second Amendment rights. It must be withdrawn immediately.
Very
Good job.
Excellent comment.
All right, let's see.
Are there names?
Renee.
Okay.
That was Renee. We're not going to give last names.
Yeah, only first names.
Roll the dice.
All right, we're just going to go through. And we're trying to read a few of these comments because I know some of you haven't submitted a comment yet, and maybe you need some ideas. So we're trying to give you some ideas of what some of your fellow citizens are putting forth here. And we are going to read some of the comments on the receiver redefinition as well. So just give us a moment here. So we'll go through just a few more brace comments, and then we'll quickly move on to the receivers.
All right, so this one starts off with a quote here. This is from, let's see. This is from Michael.
Michael.
All right.
Okay, Michael.
All right. Show me the man, I'll find you the crime. Lavrentiy Beria, head of NKVD, Stalin's Soviet secret police. The laws that forbid the carrying of arms are laws of such a nature. They disarm only those who are neither inclined nor determined to commit crimes. Such laws make things worse for the assaulted and better for the assailants. They serve rather to encourage than prevent homicides, for an unarmed man may be attacked with greater confidence than an armed man, said by Thomas Jefferson, commonplace book quoting 18th century criminologist Cesare Beccaria, 1774 to 1776. Let's see.
Very good, Michael.
Let's see. The ATF must immediately withdraw its rules to criminalize pistol braces. According to your own reports, 3 million pistol braces have been sold since 2013. That is the low estimate, by the way. This
Very
new
low.
rule would make each and every one of these devices worthless and a felony if not registered. And as Eric said before, it's all about the money, right? Let's see. You would be turning millions of otherwise law-abiding gun owners into felons overnight. Moreover, your own research shows this proposed rule would cost the gun industry and everyday gun owners who are already struggling to navigate through our country's economic hardships tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in conversions, taxes, and destruction of their own property. You have something to say?
Very good. No,
Okay.
I agree.
You just
I agree.
going through? All right, let's see. In fact, the new ATF test to determine if a pistol counts as a pistol is unfeasible for millions of law-abiding citizens. It appears ATF has intentionally redesigned its factoring criteria for rifled, barreled weapons with accessories commonly referred to as stabilizing braces to effect a complete ban of every pistol brace firearm currently on the market. Let's see, reviewing the ATF's proposed worksheet, quote, end quote, that would be used to classify firearms as either legal pistols or illegal short-barreled rifles. Literally, no pistol brace firearms would count as a pistol. Yet, most pistol brace firearms would fail Section 1 of the worksheet because all but the shortest AR-style firearms are over the ATF's new 26-inch limit on a pistol's maximum length. Moreover, under Section 2, virtually all, if not all pistol braces on the market, including those previously approved for sale by the ATF, would receive more than 4 allowed points, meaning the firearm would be classified as a short-barrel rifle.
Stop there for a second.
Go ahead.
Okay, one thing I'd like to add to that. That's great. Michael, that's
Very
a
good.
great comment. And I'm very impressed with the comments I've read so far. One thing I'll add to that, too, is that not only does their point system make a wide variety of different pistols fail completely arbitrarily, but even some pistols you wouldn't even associate with something like they're trying to ban would be included in it. One could even argue some of the like Ruger Chargers with the bipods on them, or some of the bench rest pistols and rifle calibers from Remington or Thompson Center, like the Contenders. Even some of those guns would fail under this criteria. So this is clearly a gun grab, and it's clearly a political move, and they're clearly energizing a political environment to further a political goal. This has nothing to do with safety. This has everything to do with control and statism, and it has everything to do with bankrupting firearms owners and in assessing very unfair and unrealistic taxes and financial burdens on the end user.
Yep.
Good points, Michael.
Very good point.
Very good point.
He continues, and who would this proposal even help? The ATF has arbitrarily decided that a pistol AR is a gangster-type weapon, despite criminals actually preferring handguns to rifles. And look, that data is in the FBI crime statistics that are publicly available online. You can go read it for yourself. And remember, guys, stabilized braced firearms are not included in those statistics.
All right.
So the ATF wants to say that, oh, these items are being used in crime, but they can't even produce data to say whether or not they are or are not being used. They're just assuming that they are.
Correct.
All right,
So
anyways.
see, they know that rifles are used in such a very tiny amount of crime. Well, all right, think about it. If you're trying to say that a pistol with a stabilizing brace is the same as a rifle, and rifles aren't used in crime, and you know they're not used in crime nearly as much, like a tiny, tiny little sliver of crime, then why are you even trying to go after it? Why are you claiming that it's this extremely large, huge public danger when it's clearly not?
We've seen from the statistics,
Because it's not about the danger.
Yeah.
It's about the money. They want that money, and they want to be able to peek under the roof of your house and have a look into your life and into your privacy. They want to invade your privacy.
Yeah, we've seen before in the statistics that hammers, just for example, are used in many more crimes than rifles are. All right, let's see. The ATF has arbitrarily decided that a pistol AR is a gangster-type weapon. Okay, I read that. Your proposed rules would do nothing but crush law-abiding gun owners, trample upon our Second Amendment rights, and risk turning us into felons with the stroke of a pen. I demand the ATF withdraw its proposed rule on pistol braces immediately.
I demand. Michael making demands up in this place.
ATF better recognize.
Better recognize. All right.
Let's see.
All right, one more. All right, I wanted to keep this gripe kind of short.
All right, yeah.
It never is, but
It never is. We always get off on topic
that's
here.
okay.
Let's see.
All right, and who is this?
This is, let's see. Oop, crap. Now look, there are, all right, look, let's find another comment, because some of these are canned comments.
Yeah, that's a cut and paste comment.
Yeah, so like Gun Owners of America, FPC, some of the other organizations out there, they'll have literally like cut and paste comments that you can throw together, and you can just add your own commentary on
Feel
there.
free to doctor those comments up. If there's a personal thing. Look, before we get in the next comment, I'll just mention too.
Find one.
It's important, guys, that you make them understand all of the impacts on your life. Don't just say, but my braces, right? We have to make them understand that the fiscal issues that we have with it, like the unfair and, the unfair amount of money that people are going to have to, pay to keep their braces we're not going to go there. But anyway, you have to make them understand the fiscal impacts, the impacts on liberty, the impacts on our rights, the impacts on the industry and jobs and people's livelihoods, the unfair application of they do not have the right to make laws, right? An alphabet agency does not make the law, right? Laws have to go through Congress. So, articulate those things. Take your time, write the comment. You've got plenty of time.
Yep.
I'm taking my time in writing it. That's why I haven't submitted mine just yet, because I'm really trying to make sure I dive into those bullet points and leave a very well-balanced, hopefully a well-balanced comment.
And he has to keep flipping through the little brown handbook and the thesaurus.
I've got to find some fancy words to use. I know fancy words. I don't know how to spell them sometimes.
Hey, look, I gotta give you a hard time every now and again. I get it all the time. All right, so look, this is a pretty short comment, so we'll pick a couple more.
Okay.
All right, this one is from Mitchell. Approval for the brace, however many years ago, has led to millions being sold. But now, because a new president sits in office, the time has come to punish law-abiding gun owners everywhere. I swore an oath as a corrections officer to support and defend the Constitution against enemies foreign and domestic. I'm just curious what oath ATF agents took to support something that defeats that right.
Well then.
All right, let's see.
That's a good one.
All right.
How many people feel that way? All right.
Yep. I mean, it's just, let's see.
Wow, this is
pretty short. Yeah. Please stop trying to regulate how we are going to defend ourselves. This is not for government to decide. It is a personal choice.
I want to add something to that. Yeah. That's who made that comment?
That is, let's see, what's his name or her name?
Anonymous. Okay, so thank you, Anonymous, whoever you are. You could speak for
anybody.
We're
literally just randomly picking
The one
this.
thing I'll add to that is that the left always loves to say, my body, my choice. Like, they always want to say, oh, it's my choice. I can do what I want. But when we decide how we want to protect ourselves, it's all of a sudden some form of a giant issue, right? I'm all for people, like, doing whatever they want. Like, I'm all for freedom. I'm all for liberty, all that happy stuff. But don't sit there and say, my body, my choice, but then try to tell me how I'm going to defend my body.
Exactly. All right,
so that's a long one.
This is a long comment, so I'm just going to kind of skim through. There's some good points in here.
Okay.
This is from James. All right, let's see. As a free citizen of this great country, I vehemently, I think that's how you say that, oppose ATF proposed rule 2021-12-167 as a direct infringement on my constitutionally guaranteed rights and further empowering of the executive branch to exercise unimpeded control over the people of this great nation. Braces were approved years ago, and since that time, well over 4 million have been sold. Again, low estimate. The ATF is attempting to create 4 million felons or a mass registration of their weapons, both of which without the input of our elected officials. Using the stroke of a pen to make law-abiding citizens criminals has not and will not solve anything. Criminals will always find a way to get weapons just as they do the drugs, which fuels so much of the violence. Moreover, they are likely to use a stock anyways because they don't care about an unregistered NFA weapon, whereas the 10+ million law-abiding gun owners do. By the way, they are statistically the most law-abiding group of people in the nation. That is why I believe so strongly in protecting ourselves. I absolutely agree that legislation can help solve this, but my idea of common sense is a bit different than many in the mainstream these days, and certainly not backdoor secret rulemaking from an executive agency. Common sense to me is increased penalties for illegal weapons trafficking and their use. Common sense to me is mandate that district attorneys like Larry Krasner do their jobs and enforce the laws that put these dangerous criminals away, not plea them out of empty jails. Let's see. Common sense to me is nationwide concealed carry program so that legal gun owners can use their constitutionally protected right without fear of prosecution for crossing an imaginary line. Driving a car is a privilege, not a right as defined by the laws, but on a national level it has been made clear that state-to-state laws can confuse and criminalize the average American.
Unknowingly.
And
you may not know.
Yep. He continues to go on with some more common sense and such. But finally, I would like to cite a few pieces of legislation I believe support my points. Let's see. First, the well-known Second Amendment. Let's see.
Which we know.
Yep. And then let's see. The PA. All right. Secondly, the PA State Constitution Article, Section 21, the right of the citizens to bear arms in defense of themselves and the state shall not be questioned. Additionally, the findings in the United States of America versus Wright, where the jury came back with a verdict against the ATF clearing Mr. Wright of the charges related to his braced weapon. Finally, in Miller versus Bonta, where the district court ruled that assault weapons ban ruled against the assault weapons ban in California, and once again reaffirming our right to use weapons in common use for common purposes. Again, I would like to thank you for your time as well as your efforts to keep us safe. I hope that I may have helped influence your thoughts moving forward. I will leave you with this. If the First Amendment applies to radio, TV, and the internet, the Fourth Amendment covers wiretapping and video surveillance. Why does the Second Amendment only apply to 18th century firearms? This is something that we've heard in the past, and it is very true. The Constitution, the Constitution, albeit something that Democrats would love to see as a living document, okay, that can just be molded into whatever, flavor of the week they want it to be. It is not. Not technically. Some of these amendments, all these amendments, they are set in stone. They were put in place and they are immovable. Yeah. That's why our founders made it so difficult to ratify the Constitution, okay, and add amendments or change amendments. You have to have quite a majority, on one side or the other to get that done.
Well, we won't even get into the fact that, they keep trying to abolish the Electoral College and they keep trying to pack the Supreme Court. Yep. It's all power play. It's all about trying to, balance the power way, 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 way more in their scale so they can just obtain more and more power. Mm-hmm. We won't go there. But of course, I disagree with packing the courts, and I disagree with abolishing the Electoral College. There was one statement that was made, well, why should rural West Virginia, basically be the end-all, do-all say on this particular situation? That's the beauty of the Electoral College, is that it gives everyone a say.
That's Manchin's. That's Manchin's district, correct, and all, or his state.
Joe Manchin is an outlier. Yeah. He doesn't always vote the way we want. He is a Democrat, but he has held true on some beliefs that generally would not be associated with the Democrat Party.
Well, if the progressives controlled everything, like the Squad, like AOC and all of her cronies and such, then we'd really be in a pickle if that was the case.
We'd be a third world country in 10 years.
We would be. But the thing is, though, all right, remember, guys, like, we're reading these comments and where you may not agree with everything said in a particular comment, remember, firearms owners are from all walks of life, all creeds, religions, sexual orientations, the whole nine yards. Okay, we could keep going, but we've talked about this in the past. You got to remember, the Second Amendment is a universal right that applies to everyone, not just left, right, or far right, or whatever the case might be. Politics, unfortunately, the Second Amendment is political to a certain degree, but overall, the Second Amendment is not political in the words, that
it says what it means.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's clear in what it means. Like, it shall not be infringed is probably the most clear constitutional language there is, right? So when we talk about our freedom of speech, right? Does the freedom of speech, all right, when we look at the First Amendment, does that end with shall not be infringed?
No.
The Second Amendment does, right? So they made it clear that this is something that you stay away from. This egg stays here. You don't touch it. Okay. All right, now we're going to just read a few comments real quickly, and this is on the proposed rule change of the receiver definition. This has nearly 78,000 comments. Not bad. We need to bump those comments up, but we're going to read through some of these comments. I'm curious to see what some of you have to say. All right, so first one right out the gate, submitted by...
Right here?
Yep.
All right, this is a little short. Philip.
Okay.
All right, Philip. So this organization lacks authority to independently change regulation. Your proposed rule change for a frame definition that has impact and, let's see, has that impact and is not constitutional in any way. Stop attempts to criminalize law-abiding citizens.
Fair,
pretty
Philip.
Short and sweet. See, the thing is, guys, like, just getting these comments out there is very important. All right.
All right, here's another one.
I'm waiting for the comment that just has, like, you know, like parentheses and other symbols.
And guys, we're just randomly choosing these comments. We're not screening them. We're just, giving you guys a chance to
look. We haven't read these, so I mean, we're just kind of going through and reading them. All right, this is from submitter info. Anonymous. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
All right. Hello, I'm a current resident here in Southeast Connecticut, and I'm very passionate about my constitutional right to own firearms to protect myself, family, friends, and neighbors. Living in the state with numerous anti-gun laws has impacted my ability to protect myself and others. I believe that the docket number will cause more negative effects to law-abiding citizens than preventing crimes. Okay, we've heard that before. Based on the excerpts from this proposed document, there are radical assumptions that will be drawn that would negatively affect almost every law-abiding citizen, including those who do not practice their right to the Second Amendment. In the proposal, the statement, quote, designed or may readily be converted to expel a projectile by the action of an explosive, end quote, would be added to the definition of a firearm. This statement is completely vague, and any object at this point could be considered a firearm or materials to make a firearm, i.e. pipes, pieces of metal, 3D printing, filament, etc. This added change to the definition of a firearm would create a mass witch hunt and many persecutions, wrongful convictions from federal, state, and local officials.
Fair.
Very fair.
Very fair. And it is true, so at what point do a machinist drawer full of boot grommets and random bits of metal and tubing and pipe become a gun, right? Or a drawer full of springs or bar stock or whatever, or a pallet full of aluminum stock. I mean, at what point is that a gun? So it's one of those things. I mean, Americans have the right to make their own firearm. And I know that there's people that don't like that fact, but here's the thing. If there was some crazy epidemic of death and violence and destruction and wanton chaos that just existed as a result of people being able to make their own guns, do you think that whether or not people made their own gun or not would factor in or even matter in that case, right? Yeah. What you see is what you see, right? So are you really going to change anything? So even if, all right, let's back to the brace thing briefly for a second. Say they wound up saying, all right, you got to pay a $200 tax stamp to keep a brace pistol. Does that mean the gun still can't be used however it's going to be used anyway? It's not going to change the end user and what they do with the firearm. It's just, so the thing is, it's like, if you can pay a $200 tax stamp, all right, you're going to say, well, this is naughty, we don't like it. And if you pay a $200 tax stamp, you can keep it. Is it really illegal? Is it really illegal at that point? It's just a frisking operation. It's just a way to peek under the hood and find out who's who. Oh, and by the way, we're going to take their money because, one estimate is that there's some 40 million braces. So you take 40 million and multiply that times $200, that's a pile of dough. It's a cash grab. That's all it is.
Let's see, how many zeros is that?
They actually accomplish two things in their minds by doing this. One is they get to fleece you and make you pay a $200 tax stamp to exercise your Second Amendment rights. Polling taxes have long been deemed unconstitutional, and I'm waiting for a group like FPC or GOA or someone to step up to the plate and sue these freaking dicks about this because polling taxes are unconstitutional. You can't tax a right. The Supreme Court has already determined that many times and in many cases, right? You can't tax someone's right to vote. You can't charge someone a tax to vote. Well, then why should you be able to charge someone a tax, to keep a firearm that they legally own? And then the thing about it too is when you look at all these people that are belly aching about the changes in laws when it comes to voting. Oh, well, we're going to have a stricter chain of custody for mail-in ballots, or we're going to have strict voter ID requirements, and you have to have an ID. And all these people that are insulting poorer people or certain folks within certain demographics and saying, oh, well, that's racist because this person can't afford a $10 ID, and you have to have an ID to do all these random things, including buy a gun, right? So they're okay with me having to have an ID and submit background check and pay a $200 tax stamp to own a gun or whatever in certain cases, or certain types of firearms. But at the same time, they want to cry wolf when it affects them, right? It affects their way to chalk up bullcrap votes that they know are not on the up and up. So see, it's okay to look the other way on financial requirements to do certain things when they think it's going to affect their power grab. But when it just comes to not something that's not a power grab, it's just people exercising their rights. All of a sudden, oh well, we're gonna make 40 million people pay $200. Somehow that's fair, but having an ID isn't fair. So they're hypocrites.
All right, I just wanted to see. All right, U.S. national debt. That's trillion.
That's trillion.
Yeah, $28.4 trillion
And growing.
and growing like every second, right? Print that money. All right, so just 40 million braces estimated, like, okay, on the top end, times $200 for each one to be registered as an SBR is $8E9 on the iPhone. So that's $8 trillion. That's, yeah, 8, 9, yeah.
That's
No, is that 8 trillion or is that trillion or billion?
it's a pile of money.
That's a pile of money.
It's a pile of money.
I can't math with that many
Right.
zeros. It's
And,
really
all
hard.
right, so here's the thing. Say that all 40 million of those people submitted a $200 tax stamp. All right, at the current rate that NFA paperwork is taken to process, do you really think with that money they're going to hire more people to handle the paperwork on the back end? No, it would take you years. It would be probably 4 or 5 years for them to process that much paperwork at the current rate. It's completely a burden on the system. It's a burden on the end user. It's a burden on society. It's a burden on law enforcement. It's just a burden on everybody except you and your perceived narcissism, like your perceived glowing self-importance. This is not about the public safety. This is about their perception of their safety. They're worried about their butts being in the sling, not you.
Hey, has anybody made like a drama / horror movie that is centered around the idea that in the future, either you're going to work for the government or you're going to work for Amazon?
All right, so back to receivers. All right, this is a comment from Gary.
You want me to
All
read
right, I believe that the ATF 2021R, the Federal Register docket number, will create an undue cost burden to the average American citizen and restrain the manufacturing of firearms both privately and commercially. The rule change is not feasible, nor is it practical. I oppose ATF docket number. I am an American citizen who has been making firearms for my personal use for over 20 years, and this rule would unfairly restrict my rights under the Constitution. All right, that's
easy.
Pretty clear and concise, Gary. One more comment, and we're going to talk about Chipman real quick.
Yep.
I wanted this video to be kind of short. Apparently, it was not.
They
That's okay.
never are. Sorry,
all right.
guys.
All right, who submitted this one?
Let's see. Sorry, I got.
Ooh, I got to read this one.
Loy.
Loy. Okay, that's a specific name. All right. Okay, so here's Loy's comment.
Of course you got to read that.
These new rules should not pass. You shall not pass. I made a Gandalf meme earlier, so I had to go there. Okay.
Oh, God.
People have been making firearms in this country since even before its founding. And to change the rules now will only make criminals out of the ones who have followed the law up until this point and will not stop any current or future crime. Just because a few bad guys allegedly used ghost guns in a crime does not give you the right to punish the rest of us. Okay? Which brings me to my next point. The ATF's job is to enforce the rules, not make them up whenever they feel like it. That job belongs to Congress, not the ATF. Stay in your lane and stop trying to make the laws of law-abiding citizens more difficult. Well done, Loy. Great comment.
Stay in your lane,
Okay,
ATF.
so this Chipman thing is not out of the woods. I just want to briefly mention it. So again, 3 things I need from you. Leave a comment on the brace situation, the receiver situation, and keep pressuring your senators over David Chipman's potential nomination. It has made it out of committee, and it's going to a full Senate vote. We're not out of the woods. That vote could come very soon, possibly even within a week.
Yeah, I was checking to see if there was any update on it.
So they keep pushing it back, and the reason they keep doing it is because they know that the public pressure that has been squeezed on Chipman and on the Senate to not confirm him is great. The pressure is huge, right? And that's good because GOA, FPC, have been doing a really great job of getting their base riled up and really getting them to, get in with their senators and really muddy up the water and make this known, right? So I think some 46 senators signed on to a letter to actually tell the ATF to withdraw their redefinition of these pistol braces. And again, that was something that was kind of gotten started by the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, which I don't agree with everything McConnell says. I'm not 100% on Team McConnell, but one thing that I can say is that in this fight for the braces, McConnell has been a strong voice. He did the same thing back in December. He went to the DOJ and said, hey, this is terrible, drop it. And what they do? They dropped it. Now, Mitch McConnell's gotten 46 senators on board to tell the ATF, hey, we're all signing on to this letter. We disagree with the regulation, the further regulation of these items and the infringement on the Second Amendment rights of our citizens. So that's good. But don't rest on the laurels of that letter from the Senate. Still submit your comments, submit the receiver comments, and make sure that you're contacting your senators, even if you know they're anti-gun and you know how they're going to go on that particular deal with Chipman. Regardless, still, make your voice heard, send them a letter, call them, email them, do everything you can, because we have to keep the pressure on them. They keep pushing this vote out because they know the pressure is hot, that there's a lot of people that do not agree with Chipman's nomination. Yep. They know that his nomination is a political ploy. It is a political grandstanding. It is a pandering to a very, very vocal minority of people, right? And they are literally just trying to play pool with your rights. They are trying to use your rights as a bargaining chip, all right? And when Biden was, back in 2020, when Biden was running, one of his campaign promises is that he was going to go after the Second Amendment. He was going to try to restrict X, Y, Z. We've already been through that. You know that. But part of his way is to put the worst possible bureaucrat in that position that he possibly can.
Well,
so he may not necessarily be able to, directly sign an executive order. Not to say he won't try that, but even if he doesn't sign an executive order, even if Congress can't, get with the program for him to enact his gun control he wants to enact, it doesn't mean that he can't put some terrible anti-gun activist and bureaucrat at the head of one of the potentially most deadly agencies that the government has as a weapon against the citizens. He wants to weaponize the ATF against law-abiding gun owners simply because they don't share his political views. That is the issue. The issue is not about, whether or not some person needs to be confirmed to lead the ATF. I don't even want to get into that, but I think we can all agree that this is political and we shouldn't allow it, and we shouldn't allow or support an environment where someone is placed into a given position to further political goals. These alphabet agencies infringe on our rights on a regular basis all the time, and we can't support an environment where we allow these people to infringe on our rights. They should at least, if they're going to exist, they should at least try their best to look at it on a lens of constitutionality and nothing more. You shouldn't bring your personal biases to the table, right? You shouldn't go, well, I'm going to go work for the ATF so I can be the absolute worst fly in the ointment for gun owners. That's not a honorable thing to do. It's a dishonorable thing to do, and we shouldn't support that.
So with Chipman, potentially at the helm of the ATF, it turns it from the agency that it is, which is supposed to just be a, regulatory agency, abiding by the laws of this country and enforcing those laws on the people that the laws actually need to be enforced on, like actual criminals and not law-abiding people. But he would take it from that to an activist organization, more or less. I mean, the whole idea of Chipman is directing the ATF in a
political way.
Yeah, in the way that Biden, and left-leaning anti-gun individuals would like to see that agency go, and they would like to see, more anti-gun, I guess, propaganda and anti-gun thinking and such just spread throughout those agencies.
And it allows them to have a slush fund for money, for them to be able to funnel money into that organization and then use that money to infringe on your rights.
Look at all the crap that they were wanting to use.
Black funds and stuff.
Look at all the crap
projects
they were wanting to use the money from these potential rule changes. Like if there was an influx of money from people registering their pistols as SBRs, for example, and all these millions and millions, possibly billions of dollars were coming into this agency, all that it would be funneled into is anti-gun pet projects for Biden and his other
paid
cronies.
for by gun owners.
Yes, paid
That's
for
what's so
by
terrible
law-abiding
about it.
people. But really, having someone like that at the helm of the ATF, who is not a moderate individual at all, is definitely the wrong move.
Now, one could argue that the ATF doesn't need to exist at all.
Well,
but then you could even argue that if they are going to exist, they certainly shouldn't have someone like Chipman at the helm.
Well, I think it was Marjorie Greene, she submitted a bill to abolish the ATF recently.
Well,
I mean, yeah.
So I'll just quickly mention, so on the stabilizing braces and the receiver definition, look, this is just scratching the tiny itty-bitty little surface of how far they're going to go down the rabbit hole. If Chipman gets confirmed, this will seem like a joke compared to what you'll see years from now. It's a terrible situation, guys. We have to get everyone involved. 3 things, again. All right, 3 things. Go and leave a comment on the stabilizing braces, the receivers, and make sure you're contacting your senators about Chipman's confirmation. We're not out of the woods yet, guys. This is one tiny little skirmish in a humongous battle for our rights. We cannot sit on the sidelines, guys. So we want to make a quick update. We will post more of these update videos in the coming weeks as more pertinent information is out there, but I wanted to give you an update on the amount of comments. That's good. 107,000 comments on the braces. What did I say? So, 77 or 76,000 comments on the receivers. That's good. And of course, the heat is on Chipman. That's great. If you can afford to donate a few bucks to FPC or GOA, I would certainly recommend doing that. They're a great group of people. FPC primarily, for me, I mean, they're doing a ton of fighting. Both groups are great. But if you can donate to both, do it. FPC is really putting in the work, and they are really fighting those fights. So I donate to them monthly. They're a great group of people. So guys, thank you so much for watching today. We really appreciate it. If you'd love to support our channel and the message that we're trying to put out, you can go over to Ballistic Ink, pick yourself up a t-shirt if you want. We got some great man cans and merch for sale over on the website, so check them out. Have a great day. Many more videos on the way. Anything else, Chad?
No, I think we covered it.
All right. Have a good one. We'll see you soon.
See you guys.